I would hate to have been the designer behind the brand new 2024 Callaway driver lineup. I think they have potentially a huge problem on the books, mainly for one reason: this thing. Callaway Paradym Triple Diamond for me is potentially the best driver I've ever tested. Imagine having the job of trying to improve it. Well, I can safely say Callaway have tried. I absolutely loved this driver last year, and that's why I sort of feel like Callaway may have a huge problem with the release of this new club. Fortunately, Callaway have tried to make this better, introducing the brand new Callaway Paradym AI Smoke. Now, I'm really pleased that Callaway haven't ventured too far from the Paradym. This is the Triple Diamond version. There are 3 drivers in the lineup. We're going to test them all today, and we're going to see just which driver potentially could suit you and could suit me. We're going to test it against last year's Paradym, see if it's a little bit more forgiving like Callaway claim, and I've hit some of the tee shots on the hardest holes in the world using this driver to see how it stands up under the pressure. We're going to test it inside, we're going to test it out here on the golf course, and I'm really pleased with, first of all, how the driver looks. And when I went out to Texas to test this driver, the first thing I thought was actually the Paradym sounded like a good driver. It really did look nice, feel good, sound good. It did everything of the above. The one criticism could be, do you need more forgiveness? So Callaway claim this new AI Smoke driver is more forgiving from across the face. So looking down at it, I really like the shape. The shape hasn't changed too much, but look at that for a ball flight. Really easy to launch, really nice sounding, really nice feeling. And one of the reasons for that is the brand new AI Smart Face, which we'll get into a little bit later on in this video. But for now, I just want to keep hitting this driver because it feels so good, it sounds so good. And the big saying is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I don't think Callaway have changed too much here, but I do love that smoked look. I do love that blacked out finish. And the one thing I don't like is the way it says AI on the heel. That's one thing which I think a few people have given feedback of that. We could just keep it a bit stealthier looking. But 2 identical fades down this hole. This is a fade bias driver. This is the Triple Diamond, and we do have the setting with the weight at the back. We're going to test that as well in the studio to see potentially where you should have the weight in this driver, but that won't change too much from last year's Paradym Triple Diamond. Would you move out of a Paradym Triple Diamond into a Paradym AI Smoke Triple Diamond? Guys, get in the comments below and let me know. I'm not sure too many people would, but can we hit 3 identical drives in a row with this brand new 2024 offering from Callaway? Right, come on. Exactly the same. Fading back nicely into the fairway. So my first impression, and I must say this thing is certainly a looker. However, now looking down at this, it's almost like, it feels like they've made the sweet spot bigger. It looks like they've enhanced where you can hit this club for the forgiveness. That is the main story. Can we see that work? The wind's off the right. Wow. As first impressions go, right, that's going to take, we've got a lot of testing to do, but that was bang smack out of the middle of this face. One of the big differences when I saw this out in America, in Texas, was the feel and the sound, but that was on a range, not on a course. A little bit lower that time, but again a lovely peeling fade, which is what I really enjoyed about the Paradym itself. They're right next to each other in that fairway, right next to each other. And what's interesting is the miss hit seems to have gone further than the actual shot. This is the most in-depth test I've ever done, and so far it's proving to be one of the most interesting. You can just see some of the strike locations on that AI Smart Face, and look at that. That's the one thing I don't like. Oh, just the one, we don't need that there. Keep it clean. Right, 2 fades, can we have a draw? Start it right, bring it back in. First impressions so far. Yeah, that wasn't a draw. Okay, so we all know it wouldn't be a new Callaway driver release without talking tech, and this thing is full of tech. Just like the Paradym, we keep the 360 carbon wrap, which I feel like was a game changer when it came to ball speed, when it came to spin rates, and to be honest, when it came to miss hits. But the new AI Smart Face is certainly an addition which Callaway claim offers multiple sweet spots around the face, which is crazy to think that you can hit pretty much anywhere on this face and still find a sweet spot, still get your ultimate ball speed, your ultimate spin rate, and your ultimate distance. On top of that, the 360 carbon chassis has been refined to promote increased weight redistribution, adding an internal titanium support structure, and the carbon chassis is now 15% lighter, and that mass has been redistributed into the head to improve launch conditions and increase forgiveness. Callaway claim this is a quantum leap forward in their driver technologies, and I personally can't wait to see where this goes, but for now I think this is very, very impressive. Let's get back out there and see exactly how it performs for me. Is that what you want? Do you all want more forgiveness? I personally think if someone's going to offer you more forgiveness, I would certainly take it, and if someone's going to offer me multiple sweet spots, I'm certainly going to take that as well. Right, there's water down the left hand side of this hole. I'm going to try and play just a nice fade again down here. It is a fade bias head, and I really like that. But that, for me, that was a low heely strike, and it's come out really nice and hot. Try and hit that same shot again, just a bit more centered. Again, very similar down the left-hand side. I would imagine that is a little bit further. Guys, get in the comments below, what do you think to this new styling? What do you think to the new name, AI Smoke? I mean, I'm going to take some getting used to. The word Paradym takes some getting used to as well, though, doesn't it? And now, you look, we're all saying it. And my first impressions of this driver were really, really interesting. And first impressions are something which are really important when it comes to shelf appeal, picking a driver out of a pro shop and testing it. Come on, James, let's have a lovely high. There we go. That's the shot I want to hit more of. That was just a little bit high out the face, but it doesn't feel like it's losing distance. It doesn't feel like it's a high spinning shot. It feels like actually it's more of a knuckleball down there. Let's go and see where these are finished, because this is real life data and real life results. So 3 drives down this par 5 fairway. We have one just up the left. That was the final one, straight down the middle, a lovely big high fade. And we have a third shot still in the fairway up on the right hand side over there. What really pleases me about those 3 shots is that front to back dispersion. I think it's really, really good, and it's really, really impressive that I can hit them pretty much all over the face like you saw with the ball flights and still have some fantastic distance control and fairways hit. And also, one thing I've not mentioned, can we have a shout out for the head cover, because this head cover game is insanely strong, although it might not stay clean for long back at the muddy UK golf courses. Very, very nice, although I would like to see a sock in there maybe at some point. But well done, Callaway, top marks for your colour scheme. Last year, you can see under my not so white mucky head cover from yesterday's game here in the rain in the UK is a Callaway Paradym Triple Diamond driver. I absolutely loved this driver last year, and that's why I sort of feel like Callaway may have a huge problem with the release of this new club. The first thing I'm going to say is thank God they have kept the Paradym name, because when the Paradym name first came out, everyone thought, what on earth is a Paradym? Now I feel like most of the golfing world knows what a paradigm is, or a paradigm shift is, and I think that's huge props to the marketing department over at Callaway. The fact they've kept the name and added smoke on, fair enough. I think it continues the legacy, it continues the name, it continues people's confidence in the product. And so much so for me, when I knew this driver was coming, I said to the guys at Callaway, look, please send me the exact same specs as my Callaway Paradym Triple Diamond driver. So that's what the guys did. And now inside here, we are comparing the Callaway Paradym AI Smoke Triple Diamond driver together with last year's Callaway Paradym Triple Diamond driver in exactly the same specs and exactly the same shaft, which I think could prove to be a thing of beauty. You can see how they've changed on bottom. For me, much more shelf appeal on this year's model. That forged carbon on the bottom does look absolutely gorgeous. And interestingly, we have moved the weighting a little bit. The weightings are now both on the bottom as opposed to one on the bottom front and then right at the rear of the driver. I was a little bit, not negative, because negative is the wrong word, but I certainly was a little bit, I suppose you could say pessimistic. Pessimistic is probably the optimum word here, because I know that last year's product is so good. So if all they're going to do is refine this a touch, then I don't particularly mind. I quite like the new colour scheme. I'm not a huge fan of the branding on the heel of the club, but I've said that already. So how does it perform in here where it counts. We're going to test it today against last year's Paradym Triple Diamond and see just how it does perform, if it's going to perform like Callaway do claim as a quantum leap forward in their AI journey. Okay, that's bold, isn't it? That's bold. Because I'm not going to lie, I'm a huge believer in if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But Callaway claiming we have this all new redefined 360 carbon chassis together with the internal titanium support structure. So maybe that's why you see these weights now on the bottom instead of the back one being right at the back. It can just help you get a little bit more structural support. So hopefully when you hit shots like this, right, that felt really good. That's turning over a bit, but that felt incredible. You're gonna get a little bit more feedback and a little bit more forgiveness. Also, one of the factors that may go a little bit unnoticed in this new driver lineup is who remembers when Xander Schauffele got his Sharpie marker out and drew the lines on the middle of the face on last year's Paradym. So we now have those as standard. I dare say you have Xander to thank for those 3 lines in the middle. They're a little bit more obvious than on last year's driver. And I've got to say, when I do put last year's driver back in my hands, I do still really like the look of it. And if anything, it looks a little bit more separated on the back. That blue carbon together with the black leading edge does just look a little bit more, I don't know, it would look more modern, I think, if it wasn't last year's model. But I suppose the term modern only really counts for as much as who thinks it's modern, doesn't it? You see, that felt gorgeous. I think these are going to be an absolute steal this year, because I think a lot of people may well go for the new stuff, and the Paradym still just covers so many different bases. So good. Is that the shot? Right there. Go on. Go on! Now, one of the things I will say, having spent so much time inside with this club, is I do feel like the new Paradym is a little bit easier to launch. Go on, 300, yes! 166 ball, 2000 spin. And I certainly feel like you don't have to maybe get it as close to the middle to get those kind of shots that I've just hit there. And that might well be because I do feel like it's got a little bit more pleasing feedback. It sounds a little bit nicer on those miss hits. So maybe for me, I feel like they're going a little bit better. That's certainly the longest drive I've had today, and I don't feel like it necessarily came out of the middle, which is what Callaway are potentially portraying with this club. Now, that one came out a little bit flatter. It was a nice low spin at 2000. It wasn't too low spin, and the ball speed was really impressive. But like I said, I don't feel like the miss hits struggle too much either. But then last year's Paradym, the miss hits were pretty good as well, even though maybe the spin dropped a little bit too much. You still generally did okay for distance, which is generally what everyone wants, isn't it? If this is more forgiving like Callaway say, it's designed to go further, both out the middle, which looks bigger, as I've already said in this review. That's the big takeaway from this new driver. This is one of the hardest driving holes in the world for me. I'm testing drivers on it this year to see how we get on. Will I bail out right? Will I turn this left? Or will we get the middle of the fairway? That is an unbelievable drive. The big thing as well, which I keep getting, and I'm taking this driver out on multiple, that's gone miles. I'm taking this driver out on multiple days just to make sure I'm giving it a proper fair test like all the drivers this year. And the big feedback I can give you is it sounds phenomenal. The Paradym sounded okay, it sounded good. I felt like at the time it was a really nice sounding driver. This is a different level. I don't know what they've done to it internally to make it sound like this, but I'm really pleased I've spent so long and so much time testing it, because I feel like I've been very, very thorough. Wait till you get to the numbers, because to be honest, I was worried where Callaway would go. Now, not so much. And just as mentioned earlier on in this video, this has been one of the most extensive tests I've ever done. I've hit so many shots with all of these Callaway Paradym AI Smoke drivers, and of course last year's Paradym Triple Diamond, just to see how much difference there really was. And for me, I really enjoyed testing it, really enjoyed the differences in feel and sound, because I don't think that was something which was easy for Callaway to do. Having tested them both inside for numbers and outside on all these amazing golf holes, as you can see, one of the things that I found really interesting was the ball flights that I could get on the miss hits with the Paradym Smoke AI, especially the Triple Diamond. And if we look at all the numbers, I wasn't expecting it to be too much better than last year's, and as you can see, it's not really. I think those margins are very, very close, and that's all down to how I've struck them and my swing particularly. But one of the huge areas that I do take my hat off when I'm looking at these numbers is we've managed to maintain that ball speed, if not increase it, and also increase that spin rate, proving this might well be a slightly more forgiving driver, and we won't see those ball flights that dip out the air as much that I found personally with last year's model. So Chris, you used the Callaway Paradym Triple Diamond all last year like I did. What are your thoughts on the new one? Because you've been testing it just like I have. Are you as impressed as me, or are you a little bit underwhelmed?
No, I really liked it. Again, ball speed seems to be a little bit faster. I've tested it in the studio. I did get a little bit more distance again. But mainly for me, the sound, I have said they've tweaked it a little bit, and I do enjoy the sound of it. I mean, all in all, I think as looks is good, sound is good, but mainly for me, it's the performance.
Are you as surprised as me that they've managed to make it better? Because I didn't think they could make it better.
No, I didn't either. I thought that it was going to be very difficult for them to do. Maybe they would have waited, maybe they've gone more towards the forgiving side, but no, they've replaced it, or potentially replaced it if you're going to buy one.
Yeah.
And done a great job.
So after all that's said and done, after all the testing, after all the numbers, after all the, quite frankly, wicked drives I've been hitting with this brand new Callaway Paradym AI Smoke Driver, what are my opinions? What are my honest, brutal thoughts about the new 2024 offering from Callaway? Well, personally, I actually think it's a little bit of a breath of fresh air from Callaway to keep the current range in. And I know you might think, well, James, it's not a current range, it's a brand new driver with all singing, all dancing technology, multiple sweet spots, AI smart face and the rest. But realistically, it's still a Paradym at heart, which I absolutely love. I raved about the Paradym all last year. I had no secret of the fact that the standard Paradym and Triple Diamond was a lovely driver, and I really enjoyed it. And I love the fact that now we have one in a wolf's clothing. For me, the Paradym was only the start, and I can't wait to see where Callaway goes with this. So to conclude, what are my honest opinions on this year's brand new Paradym AI Smoke range of drivers? For me, Callaway did have a huge problem walking into this. I think they set themselves a stall out which was very difficult to match. I don't think they've made it any worse. It certainly feels a little bit better, it sounds a little bit more pleasing, and I think it's totally subjective if you like the new looks or not. Personally, I think it's got a little bit more shelf appeal. I think people have had 12 months to get used to the name, and I can see this being a huge hit moving forward in 2024. Guys, stay tuned for lots more comparison videos to come with the brand new drivers of 2024. Thank you so much for the support, and I will see you all at maybe not the same time tomorrow, but tomorrow nevertheless.